Broadcasting to you from the heart of northern Minnesota, this is the best music-oriented podcast and web series here on YouTube. This is the Roger Radio Show. I am Roger Radio.
That we just on Levity from the entire band group.
I think that might be the greatest intro you ever did in your life. Yeah, folks, time out, please. Time out. All right. God damn it, dude. That literally came out of nowhere, I swear to God. You know what? I'll still cheers to that anyways. I got my coffee here because I'm a little tired and I need some caffeine.
I got my coffee.
Yep, I see that. Well, cheers, cunt. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into today's topic, the question of the podcast is, which song is your biggest guilty pleasure?
Well, I can't remember who it's by. Let me look it up. It's a song called Orcs Will Eat You by Heather Dale. It's a fucking kid's song, but something about it is just catchy.
Of course.
Because like my sister Shelby likes to play this for her son, also named Roger coincidentally, and they played it for me once, and I was like, this is actually kind of catchy.
All right, so for me, it's Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Hey, dude, remember, that was one of my high school anthems right there, man. And it was released during what I believed was the golden age of music, 2008. There were so many good things that happened in 2008, like not just for music, but for movies, television, and sports, in my opinion. So, that's just me anyways.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for today's topic, so a while back, we ended up doing a podcast episode that was entirely about rock operas, but I thought we'd today talk about this other topic, which will be about concept albums. And basically, we're just going to talk about like concept albums that we know mostly, and then we'll just give our word about what we think about them per se and whatnot. But before we get into that, Aegis, do you want to explain to everyone what the difference between a rock opera and a concept album is?
So all rock operas are concept albums. Not all concept albums are rock operas. So what a concept album is you have an album that has one overarching theme or storyline. A rock opera specifically has like one overarching storyline. The entire album tells a story. But to be a concept album, it doesn't necessarily have to be a story. It just have to have like a theme or something to it, you know?
Yeah, basically
Like
all the songs have to talk about like the same topic. But
like for example, when we did one of our first few videos we did on this channel, we reviewed Dream Theater's Parasomnia. We'll start off with that one.
Yeah, might as well go ahead, get it out of the way.
Yeah, that was technically a concept album. It had to do with the topic of parasomnia, which is like disorders and occurrences that happen like between awakeness and sleeping, such as like night terrors, sleep paralysis, shit like that.
Yeah,
It was kind of the theme to that album.
Yeah, pretty much. We did that episode. We did album review talking about it when it first came out, and Aegis here even said it was one of his favorite albums in our last podcast episode that we talked about. So if you want more information about that album, go check those episodes out.
If you ask me, it's their best album so far. I really liked it.
It's really good. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It is really good. I mostly love the songs, Night Terror, Bend the Clock, and then, of course, we can't talk about it without talking about the Shadow Man incident.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I don't know. I
obviously,
really liked Midnight Messiah. I don't know what it was about the song, but I loved Midnight Messiah.
yeah, it was okay for me, but I really couldn't get into it like I did with I would say the Shadow Man incident. I think is my most favorite one. Or actually, I take that back. I would say Night Terror. I think. Oh god, I got hiccups. All right, give me a moment. Okay, that should be gone now. Now, no, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we cannot talk about concept albums without talking about the likes of the legendary Pink Floyd themselves. Now they've
Hmm.
obviously released a lot of concept albums during their years. I'm trying to find where they are at in this here. I'm on Wikipedia, of course. I will include a
Hmm.
link to this information in the description below and let you guys check it out. But
The
obviously,
only
one
two
of
of theirs that I can name off the top of my head are Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Dark Side of the Moon, we already did an episode about that, celebrating their 52-year anniversary back in March. But basically, the concept of that album is basically just about the realities of life, which included the topics of, getting old, religion, death, greed,
Money.
insanity. What?
I said money, but you said greed. That
Yeah. And then also conflict too, so and then obviously he Aegis here mentioned the wall. It's like a concept album too, just about like the self alienation and self isolation aspect of it, when the character Pink starts building a wall around him to hide his emotions and feelings, from the rest of the world, and it came at a big cost. Now, the next concept album that I want to talk about is mainly my most favorite Pink Floyd album, and I have mentioned this on my one of my favorite albums in our last episode, and it's called Animals from 1977. Roger Waters, the principal songwriter, pretty much wanted to focus on the socio-political conditions of the mid 1970s Britain, and that modern society was in decay and capitalism is to blame. And he took inspiration from George Orwell's 1945 book Animal Farm and classified society as three different animals: the industrialists, business minded overachievers, and the enforcers, known as dogs. The corrupt benefactors, millionaires, and politicians, who are simply titled the pigs. And then us, the common folk and followers, known as the sheep.
yeah.
And
If you haven't read Animal Farm, I would highly recommend it. It's the only two books you read by George Orwell or Eric Blair, as he was actually named, are 1984, of course, and Animal Farm. Both are really good. Yeah.
they,
Sorry.
yeah.
Go on.
All right. Supposedly, from what I was seeing, oh yes, I was correct about this. Their successful follow up to Dark Side of the Moon, "Wish You Were Here," also as a concept album. The album's songs, lyrics, variously express longing, alienation, and sardonic criticism of the music industry. The bulk of the album is obviously taken up by "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," which is a song that was written entirely for Sid Barrett. It's about Sid Barrett, the original co-founder of Pink Floyd, who unfortunately, because of mental illness that later turned out to be schizophrenia and his heavy substance abuse on LSD, caused his mental health to decline severely to where he wouldn't even function at all. And even looking at the album cover of this, there's a picture of two guys shaking hands, and I believe the guy on fire is supposed to represent Sid Barrett. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I see what where you're coming from. Like him being on fire is just kind of representative of the mental torture he's going through. Because I have schizophrenia and it's fucking torture, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
without a
just I'm
doubt.
just happy that I got it under control. I got it medicated. I'm functioning now. But those first few months when I developed it, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I had religious delusions. I thought it was the government for a while, and but eventually I got medicated. It's much better now.
Yeah,
But it is not a fun experience to go through. even now when I'm medicated, it's still not fun. The only two things that help these days, other than my antipsychotics, are singing helps the most. And when I'm not singing, I'm drinking because that makes me think less, and that means less voices.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's some rough shit.
right. But yeah, those are pretty much the bulk of like what I know from Pink Floyd mostly. There is another band that I do want to talk about, but first I'm gonna let Aegis tell us about what albums he knows mostly.
Do you want to just like take turns doing albums? Because there's one I want to save for the end because it's my absolute favorite
Yeah,
concept
of
album.
course. Yeah, we could. Yeah, you can do that, man.
All right,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Uh,
Good one. All right. I mentioned this in our last video, so it's called The Mollusk by Ween.
Ah, good old Ween.
It is a multi-genre concept album with a dark nautical theme, with several songs incorporating elements from psychedelia and or sea shanties, which also feature a heavy progressive rock influence.
Good old
Dean
prog
Ween,
rock.
yup, Dean Ween described the album as the only record I ever felt really confident about and my favorite record we've ever done. Gene Ween has echoed this statement, saying, "The Mollusk is probably my favorite at the end of the day."
Dean and
And
Gene. I'm
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
dude.
Dean,
Though that's though.
those aren't their real names. Those aren't their real names. Those are their stage names.
Dude, could you just imagine if that was their actual names? Dude, I was like, what kind of fucking LSD were their parents taking? Their parents must have been old enough to be during the psychedelic era. Call me crazy.
Yeah, but no, it's technically a concept album because it's all like very nautical. It's got the same kind of theme throughout it.
Yeah,
And I probably I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the last episode when I talked
talking
about the
about this
mollusk.
here, they inspired this
Yep,
right here.
yep. If Ween did not release the album The Mollusk, there would be no SpongeBob.
Yeah, exactly. So now I gotta send a letter saying, "Hey, thank you guys. You made my childhood all great because of SpongeBob, man."
Mhm.
Even at 31 years old, I still watch SpongeBob, but without a doubt, I am so glad it's on Paramount Plus.
Hmm.
Heck, I even got a. No, okay, so my mom was going through a lot of her DVDs to see what she wanted to give to like me and my
Do you
sister
have the
Brandy.
SpongeBob movie?
Yeah, the original one. That's the only good movie.
I agree because they don't have the SpongeBob movie on Paramount Plus, and I've been really wanting to watch it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, dude. Uh, the newer movies that they have been releasing, dude, they don't even use like the same in TV graphics. You know, like from the
Yeah.
show. They don't do that anymore, which is a bunch of bullshit. Okay, so oh, before I get into this the band that I was going to talk about, and you know who I'm talking about, the Alan Parsons Project. I want to actually I want to go back in time to about 80 years ago, to 1940, which many historians said was around when the origin of the concept album came to be. And they say that the first official concept album is Woody Guthrie's 1940 album, Dust Bowl Ballads, which is a concept album about, you know, life in the Dust Bowl, you know, during the Great Depression and all that. And
Yeah.
it was his first commercial recording and the most successful album of his career. So this here was Woody Guthrie's magnum opus, and he is considered as among the original Americana folksy type of musicians, and considered one of the all-time greatest artists. Now, I normally don't listen to a lot of music that's from like, you know, the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and all that. I think probably the oldest music that I have for me on my personal playlist is probably from Johnny Cash's 1957 debut album, and that's it. But yeah, this album here focuses on like the life that happened during the Dust Bowl, because there's a lot of these. You can even look at some of these names here, like Talking Dust Bowl Blues, Blowing Down This Road, Dust Came to Kill Me, spelled Kane, Tom Joad Part 1 and 2, The Great Dust Storm, Dusty Old Dust, Dust Bowl Refugee, Dust and Pneumonia Blues, I Ain't Got No Home in This World Anymore, and Vigilante Man.
Huh.
And
That last
obviously,
one kind of stands out.
yeah.
Just names, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Like all of
without a
them are
doubt.
Dusty, Dust Bowl, Dust Storm. And then there's Vigilante Man.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like the if you ever looked at the Seinfeld at all of Seinfeld's episodes, dude, they only have one episode that did not start which whose episode name did not start with the word the.
Hmm.
And that was the second episode ever released called Male Unbonding, but everything else is just called the whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so before I pass it on to you, there is a whole other concept album that I wanted to bring up also. Oh, let me just quickly write this down. And it is simply by the one and only Marvin Gaye, whose magnum opus is What's Going On from 1971, which is also listed at #1 on Rolling Stone's top greatest albums of all time. And this is supposed to be soul music's first official concept album. This is an album with most of its songs segueing into the next and has been categorized as a song cycle. The narrative established by the songs is told from the point of view of a Vietnam veteran who's returning to his home country to witness hatred, suffering, and injustice. And I said it before and I'll say it again. If this album would have came out in 2020 or 21, especially with all the civil unrest that happened and with all the tragic killings of all the prominent black people whose names have since become like symbols of martyrdom for the Black Lives Matter movement, this album would be as really fucking relatable today as it was back in those days when it came out in 1971. But like I said, it's a great album. We do intend to do an album review of it. I don't know when, but this
Yeah, we've
here
got a
in my,
lot on our plate right now.
yeah, lots of stuff on our plate right now. So, but hey, dude, you know me. I'm adding lists like suggestions, ideas, and we'll just be like, oh, what should we do and all that kind of stuff. No, but yeah, this album in particular is Marvin Gaye's magnum opus. Even though many people want to say that it's the album that had the song "Let's Get It On," you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
It's like that one song that kept getting fucking memed and YouTube
Yeah.
pooped and all that shit. So, the first time I ever heard that song, man, was on fucking Austin Powers and the second movie. So all
Yeah.
right, man, you go right ahead. Your turn.
All right. You've probably got a lot to say about this one. It might also be on your list too.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Alan Parsons Project, Tales of Mystery and Imagination.
Yep. That I do. That I do, man. But do you want to get into some of it quick before I jump in?
I'll give like a rough idea what it's about, and then you can go into deeper detail because I know you know a lot more about this album than I do.
Right. Well, I'm a huge Alan Parsons fan, so what do you
Yeah,
expect?
you got me. You really got me into them. They make some really good fucking music.
Right, dude? And it's progressive
Yeah.
rock and art rock stuff, the kind of music you
Yes.
listen to.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're welcome,
Exactly.
by the way.
Yeah. So this album, Tales of Mystery and Imagination, all the songs have to do with the works of Edgar Allan Poe. Let's see the names. Uh, A Dream Within a Dream, The Raven, The Telltale Heart, The Cask of Amontillado, which I love the story of the Cask of Amontillado.
That is a good story right there. I've read that too.
Yeah, and then there's The System of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather.
Yep, which I think was the biggest single from that album.
Yeah, and then there's The Fall of the House of Usher, which includes the prelude, arrival, intermezzo, pavane, and fall, and then To One in Paradise.
Yeah. Probably like I said, dude, this is like Alan Parsons and no, Eric Wolfson, who are the principal members of the project, dude, like they wanted to do something that involved this. And I mean, how could you not do a concept album about some of Edgar Allan Poe's greatest work, especially when he is considered one of the greatest writers and authors in history. No, I
Yep.
mean, there's like,
Whenever you think of horror giants, you think of Edgar Allan Poe, uh, H.P. Lovecraft, and Stephen King.
oh yeah,
Those are like the main horror giants.
exactly, yeah. Without a doubt, man. I think probably my most favorite song would have to be The Raven, in my opinion. But then, of course, I fell in love with The Telltale Heart. And anytime I'm playing music from the Alan Parsons Project on one of my radio shows, I always play something from Tales of Mystery and Imagination because, in my opinion, it's like one of the most underappreciated, underrated albums ever, even though this was a really strong start to their discography.
That was their first album?
Yeah, it was their first official
Oh,
album.
I didn't
And the
know
rest
that.
is history, man. Like the Alan Parsons Project, ladies and gentlemen, they obviously are. They're probably the biggest experts on writing a lot of concept albums. There's even their sophomore effort, which I think is one of their best ones, I, Robot. It was intended to be based on the I, Robot stories written by Asimov, of but who was very enthusiastic about the idea, but the rights had already been granted to a TV/movie company, and they just decided to remove the comma in I, Robot. So it's just I, Robot. And it pretty much explores the philosophical themes regarding artificial intelligence. And I don't know if it's me or not, dude, but doesn't it just feel kind of creepy that this album might have possibly predicted AI right now?
Hmm. True. True.
Heck, I even watched the iRobot movie with the Oscar slapper himself, Will Smith.
Yeah,
Or
I
like
seen
the
it too. It's actually a pretty decent movie. I liked it.
yeah, I think that was Will Smith's best movie in my opinion, so that's just me anyways. But yeah, the obviously just like with Pink Floyd, no, the project collabed with Hypnosis for creating the art design, and it's really good. I have the entire Alan Parsons discography in my collection box up there, but I don't want to dig through all my vinyls. So the next album that we have from the project is a third concept album called Pyramid from '78, and it's just basically centered on the pyramids of Giza. Not much else.
Hmm.
Yeah, their next album, Eve, is about the strength and characteristics of women and the problems that they faced in the world of men. The Turn of a Friendly Card, which I believe is their magnum opus and one of my all time favorite albums, as discussed in our last episode, focuses on the gambling industry and Las Vegas in particular. They say that Eye in the Sky is supposed to be a concept album, but I cannot find any information on Wikipedia about it. Like, there's nothing there. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's even a concept album at all. Ammonia Avenue is supposed to be the same, Vulture Culture and Stereotomy, but I can't find no information on those either. And then their last album, Gaudi, all they just did is just name the album after Antoni Gaudi, who was the one who designed the building, the Sagrada Familia. And
Okay.
if you look up a picture of that building, dude, it's a really beautiful piece of work right there. He did a good job with that.
What's it called again?
The Sagrada Familia. Sagrada Familia.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That is a beautiful building.
Right? Yeah, yeah, I'm telling you, man, them Europeans really know how to make their buildings really beautiful, dude. I'm fucking jealous. And meanwhile, look at us here in America, dude. Our shit is so modern. It's not classy like over there, dude. Like, okay, so I pretty much just went through the project in its entirety. You got anything else you want to talk about with like any other concept albums?
Another one that most people probably haven't heard of is called "To the Bottom of the Sea" by a musician. His name is Aurelio Voltaire.
How do you spell that?
Aurelio is spelled fuck.
Just
A
spell.
U Aurelio, and
Hang
then
on.
Voltaire. He's usually just called Voltaire, but there's also a band called Voltaire, and there's also I think he was a philosopher named Voltaire. So he decided to call himself by his full name, Aurelio Voltaire, to differentiate himself from them.
Okay, I
But
got
no,
you.
to the bottom of the sea is like a very sailorish, nautical kind of theme that sets place in a fictional country named Mauritania.
Yeah,
It's actually pretty good too.
yeah,
It's got such songs as The Industrial Revolution and How It Ruined My Life, Robber Baron, Stakes and Torches, Happy Birthday, My Old Friend, Coin Operated Goy, Accordion Player, The Sea, The Beast of Pirates Bay, Tempest, The Ship's Going Down, To the Bottom of the Sea, and Death, Death, Devil, 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 Evil, 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 Evil Song.
yeah. You know, when you said the
So,
ship's going down, I thought you were actually saying shit is going down.
yeah, no, it's a really interesting album. What genre? Yeah, it's classified as dark cabaret. It's pretty interesting. I'd give it a listen.
Huh. Okay, I got you, man. Now this
All right, on
next
you.
one, yeah, all right. The next album that I wanted to also discuss is we obviously did this album a while back as a tribute to the late Brian Wilson, and I'm of course talking about his magnum opus and the Beach Boys' magnum opus, Pet Sounds from 1966. Now we've already did an album review of it, so the concept of this is pretty much just talking about coming of age themes, you know, like
Yeah,
what teenagers
Bildungsroman.
and young adults are going through and shit like that. So, and yeah, but like, what else can I really say about it? It's a really good music on here in general. So, and heck, even then, like I said, full reviews, like it got 4 to 5 stars overall on a lot of these ratings, dude. And yeah, even then, like it even inspired a lot of musicians to really go far with it. Now, Radiohead was one of the bands who inspired them to make OK Computer, obviously, which we also did another album review of, and it was pretty much talking about the likes of, a dystopian future and a lot of themes of to help us get ready for the next century, the 21st century, and everything they have talked about on there is fucking true. You know, everything that's happened is true, and we even read a newspaper article from the Arizona State Press on that episode where they did predict the future, but they probably didn't go to, like, one of those fortune teller, or those people that have them giant ass globes and whatnot, like
Yeah, like, ooh, I see pussy in your future, Roger.
right. Meh. Right, yeah. Okay, okay, I'm just trying to get my bearings here quick. I am a little bit tired, so you have to excuse me, folks. I apologize, people. Obviously, we all know that there's just a lot of good stuff.
Keep
Heck,
talking.
even
I gotta go pee. I will be right back.
yeah, no, there's no concept album that's called that, by the way. So, no, but yeah, folks, pretty much, there's a lot of good stuff that's on here. Like, even another concept album that I could even mention here is Ice Cube's 1991 album, Death Certificate. And it's pretty much radically and politically charged stuff. Like, and it was statements that he made about drug dealing, racial profiling, and the right to keep and bear arms. And this album, in my opinion, should have been included on Rolling Stone's greatest albums of all time, but instead, it was his debut album, America's Most Wanted, which is not a concept album in its own right. Right, even though it could possibly be. Um, You're just looking out into space right now.
Alright, I just heard a fucking loud ass noise, like something falling. I can't tell if it was from the apartment above me or if it was in my fucking apartment. I think it was in the apartment above me though.
Yeah, you'll figure it out when you'll figure it out later, so who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, so before I forget, there is I think another album, a couple other albums that I wanted to mention also, and it was also like, two other albums that we reviewed here on this channel also that are concepts, and it's pretty much Willie Nelson's magnum opus, Redheaded Stranger from 1975, which mentions the character of the same name who shoots and kills his wife and lover, goes on the run, and then goes through like a circle of life kind of thing where he accepts like no, comes to terms with what happened and whatnot, if I remember correctly. I gotta see if I can even find it on here quick. Okay, there we go. Yeah, but it's about a fugitive on the run from the law after killing his wife and her lover. And even he included like a bunch of cover songs that just somehow fit in perfectly with the flow of the story and all that shit, you know what I mean? And then another one that I also want to mention is the likes of Dire Straits' album Brothers in Arms, which Aegis and I literally went through so much fucking torture to even
Hmm.
do for the review of the 40-year anniversary. This
That
is supposed
album
to
was
be
not good.
this was supposed to be Dire Straits' magnum opus, and for it to fucking sound like it did, it pretty much focuses on war, conflicts, and all that, and the bonds that soldiers and veterans make with each other while they're having death and hell around them and all that. But oh my god, dude, even in addition to the overall sound, it is they literally first three tracks of the album, which gets a lot of radio play, is probably some of the most fucking overplayed shit I have ever heard in my life. And my dad, who was a huge lover of this album, he loved the album to death. He fucking ruined it for me to do that because he played it so fucking much every time we were going on vacation to visit my Mazda family in Montana, dude. Just nothing but fucking fields for hundreds and hundreds of miles in the middle of nowhere, only to fucking hear Dire Straits on the radio. And we had, those DVD players and screens that they put in the cars for the kids to watch. Even
Yeah.
even then, the music was too fucking loud for me to try and drown out because the movies were so quiet, but my dad would crank it all the way up to max. God damn it, man. What am I gonna do, right? Um this next one that I want to quickly bring up before I pass it on to Aegis is the Who. The Who Sell Out. It is, I think, their first ever concept album, and it's supposed to be about selling out. Selling out for fame. And I
Yeah.
think it's supposed to the album purports to be a broadcast by pirate radio station Radio London, which was one of them
Excuse me.
offshore commercial stations that operated from 1964 to 1967. It's one of those ships that they anchor like in the middle of nowhere for like if there are planes flying over or some shit like that, and they could broadcast like what's the situation, blah blah blah, and pass it on to whoever else. And even then, they fucking really nailed it for like the name of the album and even the fucking ads that include Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey, who are the only two surviving members left. There's like I even told you like it was among my favorite album covers, and it fucking has Pete Townsend with the largest tube of deodorant, and then you got Roger Daltrey that's in a bathtub and it's filled with Heinz's oven baked beans. And they like say some like random bullshit underneath, like I don't know. All right, you go right ahead, dude.
All right, I got two by the same band. The first one was The Mountain by Haken.
Oh, okay.
So band members Richard Henshaw and Charlie Griffiths said of the album, "To us, the mountain is symbolic of our journey as a band, but also reflects the wider trials and tribulations of life." So basically, the idea of the mountain is you are climbing a mountain, and these are the fucking obstacles in your way as you're climbing up the mountain.
Yeah.
This album contains what I think is their best song of all time. One of my favorite songs of all time is called The Cockroach King. Oh, it was just called Cockroach King. No, the just Cockroach King. It's
Yeah, there's
really
no
good.
the in it, so
Yeah. So there's The Path, Atlas Stone, which is like you're like the whole time you're like pushing this like big fucking boulder up the mountain like Atlas.
yes.
And then yeah, Cockroach King in Memoriam because it's there. Falling Back to Earth, which includes two sections, Rise and Fall. As Death Embraces, Paradolia, and Somebody.
Right?
I know it's a pretty good album, but that's not their. They did a lot of concept albums. The only two I didn't include in here are Vector and Virus. I mentioned them when we did our rock operas because
Yeah.
those are more rock operas. They tell a story. These are just concept albums. They aren't rock operas.
Yeah.
There's that one, and then there is Fauna. Let's see.
No flora?
Nope, just Fauna.
Huh.
Let's see. Okay, when composing and presenting initial song sketches, we very much had an anything goes mentality. And while sounding atypically Haken, it was a piece that was all exciting us to explore and integrate into our song canon. Where the lyrics are concerned, I lent heavily on one of my favorite writers, Philip K. Dick, who, for those who don't know who Philip K. Dick is, he wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which would later become a movie called Blade Runner.
Okay.
He his best book, if you ask me, is called Ubik. It's really good. Anyway,
Right?
yeah, for inspiration, keeping our loose concept of spirit animals in mind, Uh, I reread Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which would later be adapted to Blade Runner, knowing symbolically that animals played a key role in the story. This, along with revisiting both movies from the Blade Runner franchise, opened up some deeper and philosophical topics about the nature of identity, which have served as a backbone for the lyrical content. So it has to do with animals and identity.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. It's my favorite song in the album is the second to the last song on there. It's called Elephants Never Forget.
And you know what? And you know what the thing is, dude? Like how they say elephants never forget. That is true. They have a very strong memory. And the if one particular elephant like saw your face and then like how many years later saw you, they would recognize you, dude.
Really?
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
that is literally the coolest thing about elephants, man, you know.
Yeah. The premise of the album when we started working on it was that every song would have an animal assigned to it. They all have something related to the animal kingdom and we could write about, but they also connect to the human world. Each track has layers and some of them are more obvious than others. It
Yeah.
reminds me of The Mountain. There we had the idea of not really a narrative-based album, but more the concept of climbing a mountain and overcoming the obstacles along the way. Then we took that and thought about how it could relate to our everyday lives. All of Fauna's animals relate to us personally.
Yeah. You know, that's the one thing now that I think about it is how you ended up saying that with the likes of like each song's assigned to different animals. It almost is like Pink Floyd's Animals album, you know, but instead
Yeah,
of like a particular animal, it's like the different levels of society kind of thing. So, yeah, I could see a resemblance with that. I was gonna say, don't you have anything from a Porcupine Tree on there? I know they have like a couple concept albums.
I don't have any Porcupine Tree on here.
Oh, okay. I know. I was gonna say, I know they got like three concept albums that are on here. It's Voyage 34, Fear of a Blank Planet, and The Incident.
I didn't realize Fear of a Blank Planet was a concept album.
Yeah, well, it's right here on the list. I could quickly should pull them up for you. Let me
Yeah,
see if I
look
can
it
even
up. I'm
find.
curious.
Yeah, I'm gonna look and see if I can try and find anything on here. Like, they're like maybe they. Yeah, Voyage 34 is a concept album where the LSD trip of a young man called Brian is told with spoken words. Musically, it is a fusion of progressive rock, psychedelic rock, and trance music. Oh, dude. That actually sounds like that would be a trip, dude. I might have to look that
Yeah,
album up. We
I
might have
haven't
to.
listened to that. I have not listened to that album yet. I'm only just getting into Porcupine Tree recently.
Yeah,
So far, usually what I listen to is fucking Fear of a Blank Planet and In Absentia.
yeah.
I also,
I'm gonna quickly just add it to my list right here for like listen to later. This could be something that we could add for like our big project that we're gonna do in the future. Let's see here.
yeah, let's see.
I'm gonna see
I
if I
also
could.
really like their new album, Closer and Continuation.
Oh, okay. Heck, dude, I like the alternative cover that they did for Voyage 34. It's like, it's a sky, and it looks like there's a hypnosis thing going on, and there's like three pills. Okay, let me see here.
Voyage 34.
All right, here we go. This here is a. Oh yeah, this here, yeah, this here's Fear of a Blank Planet right here. The concept of the album was heavily influenced by Bret Easton Ellis's novel Lunar Park. The novel is told from the perspective of a father who bears the name of the novel's author himself, whereas the album is mostly from his son's perspective, an 11-year-old kid named Robbie. Many of the lyrics of Fear of a Blank Planet are lifted directly from the novel. This is particularly evident in My Ashes, which is an homage to the last chapter in which the ashes of Brett's father are scattered and cover the memories of his life. The lyrics deal with two typical neurobehavioral developmental disorders affecting teenagers in the 21st century, including, but
Bipolar and ADHD, correct?
yep, or yeah, ADD is what it says, but yeah, it's like the same thing, or kind of. I could be
They're
wrong. So
similar, yeah.
yeah. It also deals with other common behavioral tendencies of youth like escapism through prescription drugs, social alienation caused by technology, and a feeling of vacuity, a product of information overload by the mass media. Now, as a radio DJ, I could actually attest to that, kind of. In an interview with Revolver magazine, Wilson described the main character of the story as this kind of a terminally bored kid anywhere between 10 and 15 years old who spends all of his daylight hours in his bedroom with the curtains closed, playing on his PlayStation, listening to his iPod, texting his friends on his cell phone, looking at hardcore
Watching TV.
pornography on the internet, downloading music, films, news, violence.
Yeah, a lot of that is covered in the first song of the album, which is most people's favorite song on that album and one of their favorite songs of all time is Anesthetize. But I really like the first track on that album, Fear of a Blank Planet.
This
Something about that song, just the way it sounds and the lyrics, I just love that song.
all this shit that I just read off pretty much was what I do even to this day. Okay, so it continues on to say the songs on Fear of a Blank Planet seem to have a connection, not just between the lyrics, but also musically. Every track flows into the next, comprising a single 50-minute piece of music, which is kind of like with what Pink Floyd did with Dark Side of the Moon. They intended for all the songs to be connected, you know? But they are, and it's also the same with The Wall. It would have been really cool if they would have did that with animals, in my opinion, but I don't know how they would have been able to do that because of the different overall sounds when you listen to the music itself. No, Wilson said the idea was to make an album that could be listened to in one sitting, in contrast to some bands' tendency to make very long records that do not maintain the attention of the listener. He described Fear of a Blank Planet as an homage to 1970s records, whose moderate length helps the listener maintain focus. And Dark Side of the Moon came out in 1973. Animals was in 1977, so there you go. Yeah, and he goes on to say, hey, it was very much conceived in the way bands used to conceive records in the 70s, where you've got two sides of vinyl, and you can lay down a piece of music which is around the 50-minute mark, which plays in a continuous way and deals with the same subject matter, and tried to kind of immerse you in a world for that time. That's always been the Porcupine Tree way, but we've definitely taken it to the next level. All right. Okay, so before we continue on, the last one that I want to talk about is called The Incident. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. The concept for The Incident emerged as Wilson was caught in a motorway traffic jam, Willis driving past a road accident. There was a sign saying police incident, and everyone was slowing down to see what had happened. Afterwards, it struck me that incident is a very detached word for something so destructive and traumatic for the people involved. And then I had the sensation that the spirit of someone that had died in the accident entered into my car and was sitting next to me. The irony of such a cold expression for such seismic events appealed to me, and I began to pick out other incidents reported in the media and the news. I wrote about the evacuation of teenage girls from a religious cult in Texas, a family terrorizing its neighbors, a body found floating in a river by some people on a fishing trip, and much more. Each song is written in the first person and tries to humanize the detached media reportage. That was a statement by Steven Wilson. And if you think about it, dude, it's kind of true. Very true indeed. All right, dude. So, do you want to quickly take a short break, dude? Because I might need another cup of coffee right now.
I know I only have one more album that I want to talk about.
Okay. Hey, I was gonna say, man. Yeah. Why don't we save it for after break, dude? I'm sure if it's really that good, man, we should really, save it, man. You know what it
Okay.
is.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a short break because I need more fucking caffeine. Aegis here needs to masturbate, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show that's dedicated to reminding you that pop music is fucking trash. The Roger Radio Show. And we got good old Bernie right there. Looks like he's still recovering from a weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, he's got some mad COVID right now. That's why he's wearing the mask still.
Yeah,
Doesn't want me to
it's
catch
that
it.
long COVID, dude. You know that long COVID exists, so. But yeah, I had to give myself another glass, ladies and gentlemen. This year, you will not find these type of coffee mugs anymore, dude. This is a Marlboro brand. And my mom no, like she used to smoke Marlboro cigarettes, but she had to switch over to Camels mainly because the Marlboro started giving her migraine headaches. But she used to collect everything Marlboro. She even has an old denim jacket that you can't find anymore. I got both
I
my mom and dad's mugs here, so
I love the fact that you're calling them Marlboro. You're pronouncing it correctly. When I was working at Casey's, people had all they called them. People would call them Marlboros. They'd call them. I have this person was like, "Can I get some Marbles cigarette?" It's like, what the fuck is a Marbles cigarette?
well, dude, that's what they told me to say it as, so all right, ladies and gentlemen. So we are just here talking about concept albums, and if you've been paying attention, you all know what we've already been discussing. He just has like one more thing that he wants to discuss quick before I get into like much more of this stuff here, and we will just keep going as we go because I want to try and get to the 2 hour mark, you know. So, but yeah, Aegis, what's this so-called big one you want to do?
This album is called The Color Spectrum by the Deer Hunter.
Ha! I fucking knew it.
It
I
is their first.
fucking knew it.
It is their first album not to be part of the Acts storyline, and it's a really good album. It was released as like numerous EPs, but they had let's see how many songs per color. Yeah, they had four songs for every color of the rainbow.
Yeah.
They so everything that was for black was industrial rock and alternative rock. Everything for red was grunge and hard rock. Orange was blues rock and hard rock. Yellow was psychedelic rock and pop rock. Green was folk and country. Blue was soft rock and experimental rock. Indigo was electronica. Violet was baroque pop, alternative rock, and symphonic rock. And then white was alternative rock, progressive rock, and post rock.
Jeez, bro.
When you say a concept album, this I think is the best example of a concept album that is not a rock opera because it's got a very good basis. It's about the colors. They have four songs for each color, and they're
Yeah.
supposed to sound and lyrically represent that color. And I think it really worked out really well.
I'm even
It's a
yeah.
long it's a
I'm
long ass album, but it's really good.
yeah, dude. I'm even taking a look at like the title tracks and in parentheses they have a color for each of them.
Yep.
Like there's black, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and white. And yeah, dude, they're all on EPs too. They were based off the EPs, the black EP, red EP, orange EP, etc., dude.
And then they released it all as one big album. And it was like at least 2 hours long.
right? Right, heck, dude, and this is the current. This is all the work of Casey Crescenzo.
Yep, he is the mastermind behind the Deer Hunter. He was originally from a band called fuck. The Receiving End of Sirens. He was from the Receiving End of Sirens, and he was their vocalist on their first album. And
yeah,
then he started his own solo side project called the Deer Hunter, and that became his main focus
yeah,
as the
that's
years
a
went on.
yeah. You know, that's so funny. Like, you got like musicians who you didn't know who I honestly would not know who were in these type of bands before. You know, like Casey Crescenzo with Receiving End of Sirens. It's almost like the equivalent for me when you have Jason Isbell, who headlined Grand Rapids Riverfest a couple years ago. Oh, and he was one of the guitarists for the band Drive By Truckers, who is another band who we play a whole lot of on my radio station, you know. Alrighty, so I gotta take a look and see if this here is a concept album, but apparently on this list is Metallica's third album, Master of Puppets. But mm, um, I'm not finding anything on here for like information about it. So I don't know, man. It's just like, you know, Yeah, I'm not really finding. Oh yeah, here we go. The songs explores themes such as control and the abuse of power. The lyrics describe the consequences of alienation, oppression, and feelings of powerlessness. And Aegis, look at 2025.
Yep.
That's all I'm gonna say. I'll let you people figure it out. Okay, so author Ryan Moore thought the lyrics depicted ominous yet unnamed forces of power wielding total control over helpless human subjects. Dun, 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 the lyrics were considered perceptive and harrowing, and were praised for being honest and socially conscious by writer Brock Helander. Referring to the epic proportions of the songs, BBC Music's Eamon Stack stated that at this stage in their careers, Metallica weren't even doing songs, they were telling stories. The compositions and arrangements benefited from bassist Cliff Burns' classical training and understanding of harmony. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, this was the last album to have their original bassist Cliff Burn before he was killed in that unfortunate bus accident at the end of their tour in '86. Battery, which is one of the tracks, refers to angry violence as in the term assault and battery. Some critics contended that the title actually refers to an artillery battery and interpreted as Hetfield singing of a war tactic as the aggressor, personifying destruction. The song begins with bass heavy acoustic guitars that build upon multi tracked layers until they are joined by a sonic wall of distorted electric guitars. It then breaks into fast, aggressive riffing featuring offbeat rhythms and heavily distorted minor D-ads where root fifth the power chords might be expected. Hetfield improvised the riff while relaxing in London. I'm gonna see how much of this there is. Okay, they do like pretty much subject. They pretty much talk about all the tracks on here, so I'm just gonna leave that one as an example. I'll get more into like all of this stuff, or Aegis and I will get into it when we do an album review of this in the future. But yeah, that's all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. Now, another album that I also want to discuss is let me add this quick. Okay, so this next one that I want to talk about is Linkin Park's 2010 album, A Thousand Suns. It's a concept album dealing with human fears such as nuclear warfare. Now, honestly, I have not listened to the much of that album. I think I've only listened to like one and that's it. But that track was a good one, you know. Um yeah, and it's nearly 50 minutes.
And I did find one more on my list that I accidentally forgot. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
all right, it's called The Tane by the Decemberists.
Ah,
They have three concept albums. One would be The Hazards of Love, which we went over when we were talking about rock operas.
yeah.
There's The Crane Wife, which I mentioned last episode. And this one's just an EP. It's called The Tane, and it's based on it. The single 18 plus minute track in five parts is named after the Irish mythological epic Táin Quillinge. I don't know how the fuck to pronounce that. Often simply, often simply called the Táin. Let's see, where's the story? Oh, it doesn't really have much info on here, so
Yeah,
I'll
but
just get you what the yeah, the Táin is traditionally set in the first century in a pagan heroic age, and is the central text of a group of tales known as the Ulster Cycle. It survives in three written versions or recensions. I don't know, it doesn't really have much on the. It has a full synopsis, but that's long as fuck, and you probably don't want a full synopsis.
yeah, just say it anyway. Just say the synopsis.
Dude, it's really fucking long.
All right, fine. Don't say it then. Can you give us like a shorter synopsis of it, or?
It is often called the Irish Iliad, although it is written in post-metrium. It tells of a war against Ulster by Queen Mebd of Connacht and her husband King Ailill, who intend to steal the stud bull Don Quilnge due to a curse upon the king and warriors of Ulster. The invaders are opposed only by the young demigod Cu Chulainn. I don't know. It's like a very classical Celtic story.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I totally get you, man. And alrighty, so obviously here's another one that I'm sure a lot of people probably are not aware of, honestly. It's Post Traumatic, which is the first solo album by Linkin Park member Mike Shinoda. And the concept of this album is just mainly just about how they were feeling after the unfortunate suicide of Chester Bennington. Even like some of these no, songs are just like, it does fit with them, Um, Place to start, over again, watching as I fall. Nothing makes sense anymore. About you, brooding, promises I can't keep, crossing a line, hold it together, ghosts, make it up as I go, lift off, I owe you, running from my shadow, world's on fire, and can't hear you now. Now, okay, so this one here, I am going to obviously bring up as well, which we are not going to get from this guy right here, who has absolutely no respect for one of the greatest bands of all time. And I am, of course, talking about the Beatles, because they have
I don't
three
hate him.
cons.
The Beatles are really good. They're just very overrated. That doesn't mean they're not good. They're very good. They're just a bit
like,
overrated.
like I said, dude, no respect. Yeah, they have three different concept albums that are here. And I'm going to start with, let me see here. I'm just looking to see if I can find the information here. One of their concept albums is supposed to be like called 1965's Rubber Soul, which was the album that inspired Brian Wilson to make Pet Sounds, but I can't find any information on it. And it also include another one that includes that's included on this is Revolver, which I think is pretty much their response to like their interest in the drug LSD, Eastern philosophy, and the avant-garde sound, while addressing themes such as death and transcendence of material concerns. And Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is pretty much just a somewhat loose concept album about Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's it. That's all I could really find. Let me see here. David Bowie, I know, made a couple concept albums. Rise
Yeah,
and
he did The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders of Mars.
yeah,
He did Diamond Dogs and he did One Outside.
Black Star is also considered a concept album too.
Yeah, yeah. You could consider it a concept album. It's his swan song. It was all about his impending doom.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, dude, it was a pretty good send off, dude, because it really did good in the ratings here,
Not gonna lie, that was his best album of all time.
right? Now, I want to take a look at Ziggy Stardust too, right now, because I know that in addition to it being a concept album, it's also a rock opera or one of the earliest rock
Yep.
operas too.
Yep,
It folk,
it starts off with a song called 5 Years, which is basically about how the world has 5 more years until it ends.
yeah,
My favorite song on that album is the last track. It's called Rock and Roll Suicide. And oh my God, if you're like listening to the storyline through it all, it's really good. It's
right.
really good.
like I said, dude, I want to do an album review of this too because a lot of people like for some reason like even when you look at Rolling Stone's greatest albums of all time, this is like his highest rated album right here. I'm surprised they never even thought about including Black Star if you believe it's his greatest work, and especially
It
when it's
really
a
is.
hell of a send off album for him with the only for him to like die 2 to 3 days after its release.
Two.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like, do you not think that it could have at least been included on that list?
It should be. So should a lot of his other albums, like especially starting with his 1995 album One Outside and On. That's his best music from
Yeah,
there on on. There's that, there's Heathen, there's The Next Day, there's Reality is really good too. And then there's Black Star, of course.
yeah. I'm trying to find where the information for Diamond Dogs is at, or can you tell us what the concept is?
Diamond Dogs was kind of supposed to be like a post-apocalyptic rendition of George Orwell's 1984.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, there's even a track on there called 1984 and another one called Big Brother, which is a reference to Big Brother from 1984, if you know who that is.
I who?
Big Brother.
Yeah, I don't think I
Like
ever
in
heard of them. I think I
1984.
might have, but I can't remember if I did.
In 1984, it's just like Big Brother is always watching. There's this character referred to as Big Brother, and he's allegedly always watching you. So you have to behave or else you get in deep shit. And they take
Right?
you to a fucking re-education camp.
Oh yeah. Just imagine if they had a like a those low budget horror games that you find that YouTubers stream. Imagine if they
Hmm.
did something like that.
That could be cool.
It right? But instead of him the big brother killing you, it's just a jump scare and then game over like in all these fucking low budget horror games.
It
Now, I'm looking at Outside by David Bowie, and I understand it was influenced by the TV show Twin Peaks.
what? I could see that. Have you ever watched Twin Peaks?
Um, no, but I've hear it's a really good show. I have it on
It
my
is one
Paramount.
of
It's on Paramount Plus. I've been wanting to stream that for a while.
it is actually one of the best TV shows ever made.
Right?
Dave Bowie actually guest stars in like two, three episodes.
No, dude, that's right, dude. David Bowie, dude. In addition to being a musician, dude, he's a fucking great actor,
Exactly.
dude.
My
Heck,
favorite
like,
role he ever did was he played Nikolai Tesla in Christopher Nolan's film The Prestige.
oh yeah.
Love that.
Heck, dude. No. When I watched the movie Zoolander, that was the first time I ever got introduced to David Bowie. And because remember, dude, they were doing that walk-off thing. Ben Stiller gives himself a wedgie, and David Bowie looking so disappointed, fucking disappointed with him. He's just like, disqualified. Like, he was so pissed. He was so fucking pissed, dude. Okay, so I want to quickly read a synopsis of this quick. So, influence for Outside, influenced by the television series Twin Peaks, the non-linear narrative of Outside concerns the residents of the fictional Oxford town, New Jersey, and follows the detective Nathan Adler as he investigates the murder of a 14-year-old girl. The tracks show perspectives of specific characters, while spoken word between song segues convey more character ideals. The story and Adler's diary entries were presented in the album's CD booklet. Musically, Outside displays styles from art rock, industrial rock, and jazz to electronica and ambient. The album cover is a self portrait of Bowie, which is kind of cool right there. But, dude, to ambient sound, dude, and dude, I know that Twin Peaks had a lot of ambient music.
Hmm.
So I can actually see that, dude. I'm surprised that. Just imagine if this album would have came out when Twin Peaks was on air, like 1990, 91 was it when it started? Or
Let me
I hear
check.
I hear somebody
The
taking out
garbage
the
truck.
trash. Huh?
Garbage truck. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 90 to 91. You're right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty cool though. Just imagine if he would have made that album during the no, when the TV show was on. They could have paid him really good money for that,
True.
you know? Let me see here. I want to keep going here. Wait, it turns out Dream Theater also made four other concept albums too. There is
Yeah, there was Metropolis too, right?
yep,
I know that
Metropolis
one.
Part 2. It's also a rock opera. And we did cover the majority. We pretty much did cover the story on the Rock Operas podcast. Yes, but it's basically about somebody. I'm just gonna quickly look at this. Oh, it's pretty much about a guy named Nicholas, a troubled young man undergoing past life aggression therapy. And looking at the album cover of it, dude, just imagine if that was made into a horror film, dude.
That could
Shit,
be
man.
cool.
Right? Yeah, like that's the one thing about Dream Theater is like they have so much good ideas for their music, dude. Like I'm surprised they never thought about doing like any short films or like any fucking movies that would go with the music, dude. I mean, look at what the Who did with Tommy and Quadrophenia, both their rock operas, and look at what Pink Floyd did with The Wall. There's another one that's called 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, and it pretty much covers everything with like each song here and whatnot. But I think from what I'm seeing right here, I think it began with like the personal stuff with the members of Dream Theater at that point, if I remember correctly. Then there's Octavarium from 2005. Um, they decided to create a classic Dream Theater album, blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to think if there's like anything on here that involves a story here. Oh, here we go. When starting to work on what would become Octavarium, Portnoy noted that it would be the eighth studio album and that they had recently released their live album. The sequence mirrored the octave on a musical keyboard. Each octave contains 8 naturals and 5 accidentals.
Octave.
What?
Octave.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I think from what I'm seeing here, it's pretty much just about like whatever sequences they were doing or some shit like that. And I would have to look more into it, honestly. And then there's the Astonishing from 2016. It is set in a they followed the same theme that Radiohead did with OK Computer. The Astonishing is set in a dystopian future United States and follows the Ravenskill rebel militia in their efforts to defy the great northern empire of the Americas using the magical power of music. It was inspired by contemporary fantasy and science fiction franchises such as Game of Thrones and Star Wars, as well as Petrucci? His observations on
Petrucci,
the
maybe?
yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
so. I don't know either. It as well as it like it's inspired by the shows, but as well as his observations on the ubiquity or whatever of technological automation in modern day society. In their effort to match the album's narrative, Dream Theater wrote songs in a wide variety of styles, ranging from mellow ballads to their more conventional progressive metal sound. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so how I was mentioning, like, Jason Isbell being in Drive By Truckers, they made a concept album too. It's called Southern Rock Opera. Dude, isn't that just, can you just imagine you make a rock opera and it's just titled Rock Opera? Well, it's a rock opera, just like with Seinfeld being the show about nothing. This is a rock opera that tells the story of nothing. So a double this is a double album that covers an ambitious range of subject matter from the politics of race to 1970s stadium rock. And they obviously like so it either imagines or filters every topic through the context of legendary Southern band Leonard Skinner, which is pretty cool, dude. Like I said, they are also considered among the greatest bands of all time, and they were among those that helped pioneer the Southern rock sound, along with the Allman Brothers Band.
Excuse me.
You're good. The Eagles, one of my all-time favorite bands. I can't remember if I said they were one of my favorites in our podcast episode that we did, honestly. But they had two concept albums. The first one is Desperado, which is their sophomore effort from 1973. It was pretty much talking about, anti-heroes and just about the old Western days. Like the days of the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Yes, and they had some really good stuff on here too. Doolin Dalton, 21, Out of Control, Tequila Sunrise, Desperado, which is their biggest hit from this, Certain Kind of Fool, Reprisal of Doolin Dalton, Outlaw Man, Saturday Night, Bitter Creek, and a reprisal of Doolin Dalton slash Desperado. And out of all of these guys on here, I mean, remember, they were the ones that spearheaded the country rock sound too. And the one guy who I feel really stood out the most on this album was their original guitarist, Bernie Leadon, who, by a coincidence, is originally from Minnesota.
Nice.
Yeah. I gotta remember what part he was from. Yeah, he was from Minneapolis. So who would have thunk it, man? One of the most influential bands in history had a member that was from the Twin Cities. And obviously we cannot talk about the Eagles without talking about what I believe is their magnum opus, Hotel California. Let me see here. Yeah, many of the stuff is pretty much just about. There are the same themes that run through all of our work: loss of innocence, the cost of naivete, the perils of fame, of excess, exploration, of the dark underbelly of the American dream, idealism realized and idealism thwarted, illusion versus reality, the difficulties of balancing relationships and work, trying to square the conflicting relationship between business and art, the corruption in politics, the fading away of the 60s dream of peace, love, and understanding. All right, let's see. There's like a few more that I want to go through quick, so we'll just keep going. So, you obviously know who the Electric Light Orchestra is, ELO, right?
Yeah.
It's another concept album, and it's supposed to be considered as a rock opera, but I find that hard to believe. It's about a man from the 1980s who is taken to the year 2095, where he is confronted by the dichotomy. It's spelled D-I-C-H.
Dichotomy?
Yes, thank you. The dichotomy between technological advancement and a longing for past romance.
All right, I got another concept album I want to talk about. I know I talked about it in our rock opera video, but I really like it, so I want to talk about it again.
Yeah, just bring it up, man. Just go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah. It's called Ziltoid the Omniscient by Devin Townsend.
Ha! I knew it. It's also listed on here too.
It's a fucking banger, dude. It's progressive rock and avant-garde rock, both of which I really like.
Yep,
Uh,
which is your type of stuff right there, so.
oh yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. The album is a concept album about an extraterrestrial being named Ziltoid from the planet Ziltodia 9. Ziltoid travels to Earth in search of your universe's ultimate cup of coffee. When a cup of coffee is delivered to him, He's appalled by its taste, declaring it fetid, and summons the Ziltoidian warlords to attack Earth, facing the full might of Earth's army. Townsend describes the album as a mix between Strapping Young Lad and the Devin Townsend Band, with a storyline like that of Punky Brewster's Cooked on Phonics.
Nice.
It's as far as fucking concept, as far as rock operas go, he did not take this shit serious. He was like, "Yep, I don't like your coffee. I'm declaring war on your entire fucking planet." It's
Fuck
fucking
you
great.
guys. Yeah, I
Mhm.
hate your shit, so fuck you.
Mhm.
I was
Fuck
gonna
you and your shitty ass coffee.
right. Let me tell you, I make the best brew. I don't give a fuck what you say. Well, I was gonna say, even your main guy Frank Zappa even made like how many concept albums and rock operas too. You know?
Yeah, he did. Let's see. The only one I can remember is Joe's Garage, but he did a couple more.
Yeah, Lather is a concept album too.
I wouldn't really consider Lather a concept album personally.
I don't know. That's what it says right here, but I could be wrong. You know?
Really,
Yeah, but I don't know if I could even find like how much information about it or what the story of it is. So
he doesn't really have a story. It's just a bunch of random songs that he made that he kind of connected together with this with these random instrumental bridges.
yeah, yeah, I'm not seeing anything on here. So I don't know. It's on here for some reason. There's also
Oh.
the infamous Joe's Garage on here too. 200 Motels is
Oh, yep,
another
yep.
one.
I forgot about that one. 200 Motels. I was originally actually supposed to be a movie too. I think it got made, but it got lost and never got officially released.
Okay, yeah,
But there's
yeah, dude. It actually even had a few good stars on here. There's the Mothers of Invention, Theodore Bikel, Keith Moon, and Ringo Starr on here too for the acting.
Yeah, see, the Mothers of Invention, when Frank Zappa first started, he had his band and he was like, "Yep, I want it to be called Frank Zappa and the Mothers." But the record studio was like, "Dude, you can't call your band the Mothers." Because he really wanted it to be called Frank Zappa and the Mothers.
Yeah,
But they wouldn't let him do that, so he was like, "All right, Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention."
yeah. At least it'll work. You know, like even then, dude,
It
like I'm looking at it, it looks like they were just performing as themselves, like for the acting part. It's just like the movie
yeah.
This Is the End, you know? They just use their real names and their real personas. It's pretty much I'm looking at the plot of the movie right here. The film attempts to portray the craziness of life on the road as a rock musician, and obviously Keith Moon is a prime example because I've told you like how many millions of stories about him, and there's so
Hmm.
many artists who were involved with him saying how insane he was. Even Joe Walsh, who took over for Bernie Leadon on the Eagles, he even said the scariest thing that ever happened to him was when Keith Moon said he wanted to be his friend. Because Keith Moon knew how much of a crazy rock star Joe Walsh is too, especially it wasn't for the drinking aspect, but Joe Walsh was a huge cokehead. He did a lot of fucking lines, dude, and he trashed his hotel room just like Keith Moon did. Yeah, the Thingfish. He has another one that's called
That's
Thingfish.
it. That's the one I couldn't think of. That's the one I couldn't think of. Thingfish.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell the story, man?
Damn, it's been a long time. Let me look it up.
Yeah. Oh, it says he recorded it in 1976, then took a 4-year break, and then from 1980 to 1983. He must have had to put a lot of work into it. Or maybe he just put it alongside for a while to work on something else and then revisit it or something like that. It's almost like one of them revisited kind of things when you're working on shit. I think that's what Metallica did with Saint Anger, but I could be wrong.
All right, let's see. The album's storyline is inspired by Broadway theater, AIDS, eugenics, conspiracy theories, feminism, homosexuality, and African American culture. It involves an evil racist prince slash theater critic who creates a disease intended to eradicate African Americans and homosexuals. The disease is tested on prisoners who are turned into mammy nuns, led by the story's narrator, Thingfish. The story within a story is a satire of a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant couple, Harry and Rhonda, who attended a play performed by the mammy nuns and find themselves confronted by their pasts. Harry presented as a homosexual boy, Rhonda presented as a sex doll brought to life.
Jesus
It's
Christ,
fucking
dude.
weird.
Dude,
Really fucking weird.
here's the thing, dude. Like, Frank Zappa said that he never took drugs or drank, dude, but this almost looks like somebody
Oh
who,
no, he drank. He drank it. He liked his beer. He liked his beer.
yeah,
And he tried marijuana a few times. He was like, "Nah, that's not for me."
right?
But no,
Dude, that's,
he did like his beer.
yeah, it's almost like one of them things where it's like, dude, you must have had to been really fucked up to come up with a story like that.
No, he
But
was
hey,
just a weird fucking dude.
yeah, but dude, sometimes it works when you're really fucked up. Even Roger Waters said when he was talking about Dark Side, like, yeah, like, so how much weed and LSD did you take? And Roger Waters said, how I wrote Dark Side of the Moon, I will never fucking know to this day. Yeah, no, that's a true story, dude. Like, you could even look that up when he was being interviewed by Howard Stern. So, let me see here. There's like a couple other ones that I want to find too. Yeah, dude, you're right. The only ones by Haken that I can find is Aquarius and Visions, which you already talked about. So yeah.
No, I talked about Vector and Virus and Fauna and the Mountain.
Oh yeah. Aquarius and Visions are also counted as the concepts also.
Honestly, I haven't got to those albums yet. I'm still getting into them, you know?
Yeah. I might as well just take a look, see if I can find anything.
All right, while you're looking into that, I got to pee again. I'll be right back.
Right, you gotta masturbate. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're liking this, if you're liking what we are talking about, and I'm sure you're all asking, what the fuck are you guys talking about right now? Subscribe. And if you guys know of like any good music that we should talk about or any topics, leave a comment below. Um, ba, 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 ba. Oh man, nothing like another nice fucking day here in good old G Town.
In good
I
old
look.
Crappies.
Yeah, I just looked at the concept storylines, dude, and yeah, there's too much information. There's too much stuff to write down to read through. So I know that I obviously keep talking about this album all the time, but there's also Imaginos by Blue Oyster Cult, and I already did a whole synopsis of it. It's pretty much it's supposed to take place. It's supposed to be a storyline about the past 200 years of existence from the beginning of the 19th century to the end of the 20th century, and it's supposed to involve an alien conspiracy portrayed by Imaginos, who is an agent of evil and who is also a hermaphrodite. Because his male name is Imaginos, and then when he turns into a female, his name is Destinova. Now, this one here, you guys might find hard to believe here, but Judas Priest, one of my favorite bands, actually did a concept album about the works of Nostradamus in 2008. And it's it's supposed to be about just as it is. And Nostradamus tells the story of the life and times of the aforementioned name. The first disc explores his various prophecies about the future, some of which are supposedly of an apocalyptic nature, which is true, you know. No, I really couldn't get much into that album, honestly, but you know, it is what it is. So, Oh God.
What?
There are several concept albums that are by none other than the anti-Semite himself, Kanye
Kanye
West.
West?
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, even before he became a rape, came out as a fucking anti-Semite and a racist.
And a Nazi.
Never liked his music. Never liked his
Right?
music. Never liked him. No, never. I don't know. And now I like him even less.
I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you. Nah, all I know is that he had a trilogy that was of concept albums, and it's basically I'm trying to think. It's a pretty much the education trilogy, as he called it, and it involved the albums, the college dropout, late registration, and what I think is his magnum opus, graduation. That's all you need to know, folks. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
We're just gonna leave it at that. Oh, dude. Apparently, hang on a minute.
Remember back in like the 2016 election, people were vote. I think it was the 2016 election. A lot of people were voting for Kanye West.
It was the 2020 election.
2020 election. Yeah, that's it. That's it. No, a lot
Yeah.
of bastards are voting for Kanye West. And like, dude, you are wasting your fucking vote. You could help change the world for the better. But no, you're gonna vote for this random fucking musician who makes subpar music.
And who's basically a Nazi too. So,
Yes, and there's also that, but we didn't know that yet.
right. Here's another concept album is a Pressure Machine by The Killers from 2021. It's basically based on lead singer Brandon Flowers' childhood in Napa, Utah. That's it. That is it. Um, let me see here. Oh, and then there's a King Crimson made two concept albums, In the Court of the Crimson King and Beat.
Really,
Yeah,
I never really considered those concept albums.
I don't know. Apparently, it's on this list too, so I don't know. I could like maybe there's no story to it or whatever kind of thing, but how the hell should I
Yeah,
know?
they're concept albums. They don't really have a story. They just share a common theme.
Yeah,
I guess beat has to do with like beat culture, you know?
yeah. Let me see here. Uh, I'm not finding much about it, but you could be right about that. So, all right, let's see here. But yeah, man, there is a whole lot of shit on here. I will tell you that. Oh, and of course we have Marilyn Manson, who released some concept albums, like at least five of them.
You know, my
No,
sister, Maria, she actually got to meet Marilyn Manson once in person.
no kidding, huh?
Yeah.
Damn. All right, so no, Mechanical Animals, which is probably his best album right here, pretty much primarily deals with the trappings of fame and drug abuse. Oh, and it's also a rock opera too. I did not know that. Antichrist Superstar is supposed to be the prequel to that album, and it's the first installment in a trilogy that included succeeding releases, Mechanical Animals, which we already talked about, and Hollywood in the Shadow of Valley and Death. The central storyline for this one right here on the album revolved around a supernatural being who seizes all power from humanity in order to initiate an apocalyptic end event. A populist demagogue who is driven solely by resentment, misanthropy, and despair, he uses his newfound position to destroy the world. The record can be seen as a social critique, utilizing this premise as a metaphor for the perceived fascist elements of the conservative political movement and the Christian right in North America.
Kind of makes me think of the rock opera I'm working on.
Right?
It's got some heavy political themes in there, and it's got a really good story. It's very metaphysical in some points. I'm pretty proud of my work so far. I'm just working on the lyrics.
Oh shit.
Once I have the lyrics done for the first album, I'm gonna write some music to it, and I'm gonna get a band together. And I was talking to my friend Tom that once I have a band together and I got some music, he can hook me up and get me a gig over at Clock Out in town.
Yeah. Oh dude, I forgot about this song right here. I just I'm just quickly adding it to something right here. Bam. Almost forgot about it right here. Okay, so the third installment was Hollywood in the Shadow of the Valley of Death, which includes the infamous song, The Fight Song. And many people believe that this song was what influenced the mass shooting at Columbine High School in 1999.
Damn. Fun fact. The Columbine shooting happened on 420.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Want to know what else happened on 420?
What?
Hitler's birthday. So all your potheads out there, when you're celebrating 420, you're no,
Don't don't go there, please.
no, just
Please don't
kidding.
go
Y'all,
there.
y'all, y'all enjoy your weed smoking. I love you.
Dude, it's just almost dude, it's just like the equivalent of, when we talk about Oktoberfest, right? When we go to the Oktoberfest at like Rapids Brewing and Clockout Brewing, and they're there, and there we are talking about fucking World War II,
Yeah, we were
which
just
is
sitting there.
very horrible taste. Very
Yeah,
horrible taste.
I was like, dude, like for the past like hour, we have been talking about nothing but World War II. It was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, for this album, I'm not finding much on it. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. Who knows? But yeah, nothing for. I'm not finding anything on Born Villain and let me see, and nothing for We Are Chaos, which are the other concept albums of his as
Was
well.
was fucking The Death of Slim Shady, was that a concept album?
Yes, it is. I forgot about that. Let me quickly go back to that. I don't know if I can find much about it, but Eminem did say that it is a concept album. And I was like, dude, if it was like a hip hop rock opera kind of thing, because, you get rock operas that are like in country form, hip hop form, blah, 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 and all that. Yeah, this album centers around a battle between Eminem himself and his alter ego Slim Shady. It's like a tug and war thing. I think it's almost like the equivalent of
Yeah.
the main story mode in the Tekken video games. You
Okay.
know, but as they say, as far as they're concerned, this was supposed to be the album that officially kills off Slim Shady once and for all, but it's Slim Shady, dude. He always finds a way to come back.
Hmm.
But it's a really good album, dude. I really did like it. I was like, it was about damn time that my main guy, Eminem, finally released something, dude. Like he will release something like here and there, but it's like on compilations or collaborations, and that's it.
Yeah, good old Slim Shady.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's a couple from a Genesis right here. And there's one that supposed to include their debut album From Genesis to Revelation from 1969. Um okay, let me see here. Okay, I'm trying to think if I can find the information on this, but it's they say it's supposed to be a concept album, but fucking A, I can't for the life of me find anything here. But yeah, This no, was not the one of the first prog rock albums. This was more in the psychedelic pop, folk, art rock, orchestral pop, and psychedelic folk. It wasn't until their second album where they entered the progressive rock era.
Okay.
So I would say it would be, I think, as far as I know, for the prog rock movement, I think it was King Crimson first, or let me. I want to look that up quick. Like who? I'm just gonna look up what year these bands started. All right, because there's King Crimson, Yes, and Genesis, who I consider the big three. So
Yeah, I think like one of the original bands to start the prog rock era was fucking Moody Blues.
yeah, but I can't remember what year they started, honestly. So
I can't either. I'd have to do some research.
yeah. Um. Ah, shit. Hang on a minute. Well, but anytime when I'm looking at thinking about them, dude, I always go back to like Genesis, Yes, and King Crimson. Let's see here.
Honestly, I'd also include Emerson, Lake and Palmer in there too somewhere.
Yeah, but Emerson, Lake, and Palmer came right after them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Genesis started in 1967. Yes started in 1968, and King Crimson was 1968. But like I said, dude, with Genesis, they did not get into the progressive sound until their second album. And here, okay, and the other, but the main concept album and rock opera that they are mostly well known for is The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. A rock opera and concept album. It tells the story of Rael, portrayed by Peter Gabriel, who is the former lead singer, a troubled and rebellious youth from New York City who is unexpectedly taken on a surreal and introspective journey of self discovery. He faces a series of bizarre and symbolic experiences that lead to his transformation and spiritual awakening. And it's actually some pretty good stuff. His the inspiration for the story Ori was mainly inspired by a book called The Pilgrim's Progress done that was written by John Bunyan.
Not familiar with John Bunyan.
Yeah, I'm not either, man. Yeah, and of course, like I said, this album also included contributions from your main guy Brian Eno.
Hey.
So I figured you'd enjoy that. Let's see here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lost Aegis on Levity again.
There we go.
Let's see here. I'm just looking to see if I can find one more to talk about at least so before we sign off here. So, but yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah. Oh yeah, the Moody Blues. They had two concept albums of their own. So we'll probably just talk about them quick and then we'll leave it there.
Okay.
Firstly, I want to take a look, see when they started actually. Yeah, progressive rock and
60s.
psychedelic. What's that? 1964, yeah. Yeah, they're two concept albums from 1968, In Search of the Lost Chord. Let's see here. I can't even seem to find anything here. What the fuck, man? Maybe it's like one of those collection of song kind of things, like what you were saying. And then
Yeah.
from 1969, To Our Children's Children's Children. Yep, not finding anything here either, man. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all we really got for y'all, you know. Obviously, concept album's been around for a very long time, you know, and it's always a good idea to come up with like many themes that could all fit into like multiple songs and then just put it on an album kind of thing. I would encourage you all to check out these albums if you get a chance, with the exception of that fucking Nazi that I obviously brought up. But yeah, Aegis, you got anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I got nothing else. Don't kill people. I was gonna add an unless in there, but I probably can't say that, or
Yeah,
else
you
we'd get
probably.
canceled.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying to get this shit going, dude. I'm trying to get the show up much bigger. I don't need you ruining it, so. But, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, if you want to see more music-related content here, subscribe to the Roger Radio Show today. And if you want to see more content from us, go subscribe to the Interrobang group today. The link to that channel will be in the description below. It is also on my webpage with all the extra channels that I have, which are all my friends, obviously. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Until next time, ta-ta for now.
Peace.